Hey, Daniel, good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I was talking on a podcast recently about Ringo's upcoming country record.
Yeah.
And what I was comparing, because I was with a guy who was like, Ringo's not country. You know, that same tired narrative that people just like to say without really any knowledge of the artist or the history of country music, etc. And we were just talking about some of the songs Ringo's written and what Ringo's done over the past 25 years, even the Beatles. But now what's great is, and the timing was accidental, you were very much a part of this project. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's what you thought I would start with, but because it's so fresh on my brain.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about that experience, working with Ringo and what this record is.
Well, Bobby, I'm a 10-year-old boy in my mind and in my attitude about things, and I'm a 10-year-old boy that loves the Beatles. And that's my first love, that euphoric feeling of that music, and it all comes from Ringo. You know, so it's a full circle thing. I remember, I grew up in a really musical household, and my dad actually toured with the Beatles. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they loomed large to me as a child. So as an adult, to kind of meet this guy, it was really funny when I finally did meet him, which we worked on a lot of things before I did get a chance to meet him. But I said, hey, do you remember, a group called The Remains that you toured with, back in the 60s? And he said, what was the name of them? And I said, The Remains. And he goes, no, too long ago. He said, it's amazing I even remember you from 5 minutes ago. So he didn't remember him, but no, Ringo is everything. I mean, he was also sort of like the silent Marx brother in the Beatles. He never really, like in Hard Day's Night and stuff like that, like he didn't have that many lines. He was more like kind of just sort of this silent Buster Keaton kind of character, and so as a kid you really identified with the silent one because, he was just watching everything that was going on,
Also felt like by watching the documentary on Apple, and I think I've seen it.
The Peter Jackson thing?
Yeah, I've either seen it all, watching it, or watching it on TikTok. Because, again, they just feed clips through my algorithm.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a really good glue guy. Like, and that's in sports, that's a big term for somebody who makes sure the group is together and is not demanding or dominating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like, what do I know? We weren't even alive back when that was really happening. But I feel like that's a bit of what he was and meant to that group.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a very good observation. And, the symbols that he uses on this new album are the same symbols that he used in the Beatles. And he never cleans them. He never wipes the dust off them. So they've got all that vibe and mojo and everything. And, it's the symbols that, T-Bone noticed this and mentioned it, but it's the symbols that make the excitement in the Beatles. If you listen to Beatles records and you hear that splashy, I'll buy you anything, my love, if it makes you feel all right. If it's just somebody going, doom, it's not as exciting. But when he plays that splashy hi-hat, it's like Beatlemania.
What was the first meeting with him like? Was it a big build-up? Did you know he was driving up? Does his car have flames on it? What's happening?
No, he just kind of appeared in the door with his wife Barbara, and she was a Bond girl, in Dr. No, I think she was in that. And, I may have that wrong, but very, very low key, very easygoing, very youthful. He's in his 80s, but he feels like a teenager. His energy is very. He's like kind of bops around like a marionette. He's just like very loose and cool, and he really inspired me. Apparently, he eats a ton of broccoli and he goes to the chiropractor all the time. And so as soon as I got back in town, I was like, get some broccoli and we're going to the chiropractor because I want to be like that.
The broccoli or the chiropractor or old and loose?
Old and loose, baby. Yeah.
There's a whole part of TikTok now that's like a Ringo, give him his respect.
Oh, yeah.
And I see a lot of videos of drummers going, you don't even know how hard this is. It may sound simple, but it's hard. And they recreate a lot of Ringo's parts.
Fills and parts.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah.
Which, if you didn't know, which I don't, because I'm not a drummer. I can barely keep any rhythm at all. But there's this new.
It's harder than it looks.
Like there's this new idea that people don't understand how good Ringo was.
I get that.
Your parents were both musicians.
Yeah, it was a very musical house. Yeah.
What were each of their expertise?
Well, my mom, she stayed home when my dad went on the road. But before I was born, my dad was in a band in Boston in the '60s called the Remains, and John Lennon was a big fan of the band and asked him to go open for the Beatles
That's
tour
how it
in
happened.
1966. Yeah, and they had a couple regional hits. You should look them up. They're called the Remains. They're on Sony Legacy, but then after that, after the Beatles tour, the band kind of broke up. They were sort of like a hometown Boston band, and they didn't really feel like they were made for international, move. So my dad moved out to California, met a guy that he went to that was around in Cambridge in the '60s called Graham Parsons, and then he did 2 records with Graham, and then through that met Emmylou, and that's what brought us to Nashville. Is after I was born, Emmy moved to Nashville, and we moved here with her. So music's really, taken me everywhere.
So, did your mom sing?
My mom did, but she was more like home with the kids. And then after Emmylou's sort of hot band disbanded in the '90s, my parents had like a folk duo where they would sing and play together on Rounder Records, and they toured a lot when I was in high school. So
what is like your earliest music memory of in the house?
I can tell you exactly what they were. If I Could Only Win Your Love by the Louvin Brothers. Fleetwood Mac was on the turntable. That Rumors record, my mom loved that record. And Henry Mancini, because the Pink Panther was the cartoon that was on that I loved watching, and those are probably the big 3.
Do you think your dad wanted you to go into music, or do you think your dad understood
No, I don't
why
think
you
he
were
did.
going into
I don't
music?
think he did want me to. I think he thought it was tough, and I think he thought it was really difficult. I think he found it quite difficult. I don't think he liked being on the road and being away from the family. I don't think he thought that was. There were a lot of years where I didn't see that much of him, so I don't think he liked that. So I think he thought maybe I should do something else.
What about you have 3 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your relationship with them about a career in any creative art?
Well, I just want them to know that they're loved, and that's really, I don't really care what they do. I'm not like pushing anything really on them. I think personally, my belief is that having music in your life is a positive thing, whether it's your job or not. I think it's good to know how to play.
Would you want them to do? Like, I would never.
I think it's a good choice.
Oh, anything creative, man. It's tough.
Yeah, well, I do think it is, but you could either have your ideas, and you'll resonate with this. You can either own your ideas and have your ideas, or you can give them to someone, sell them to someone else, and sort of work for someone else, or you can kind of work for yourself. I mean, don't you enjoy working for yourself? I mean, look at what you've built. I mean, why would you advocate anything else?
It's not that I would advocate against anything else. Doing something creative is difficult because everybody wants to do it. Everybody will do it cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, and I would compare sports and art are very much the same in that you don't really make any money doing it until you start to make all the money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an extreme class welfare.
Right. There's a big difference between the top and the bottom.
And for me, I think it's been my success is when other people like me.
Mm.
And I think that is probably the root. And I love what I do, and I'm proud of what I've built. But my success has always been not in my own heart, although I think for a lot of time it was. But my success has always been in the data of, do people like me? Are they downloading the podcast? Are they streaming the show? Are they watching my TV shows? And if not, I am not being liked. Therefore, I am no longer successful, and I no longer have a job. And I think there's a very unhealthy, inside of me anyway, feeling of, if I'm not being extremely liked, I will not be successful. And I'm not a people pleaser. Just in general, I'm not a people pleaser. And I think to me that is the reason, if someone were to say, what's the bad part about it?
Okay.
I think that's it. It starts to kind of reform like your guts. Like, if people don't like you, you're not successful. And if you're not successful, you're not worthy. And I've had to go through a lot of kind of therapy to kind of figure out that that's the case. But I didn't have like a leader. Like, I think what's great for your kids is that you've done it. You've done it at a high level and very much a way that you wanted to do it. Like, you're not a cookie cutter guy
No.
in any way. But I would say that would be my argument anti. Argument pro is it's freaking awesome, and you get to create something with your own mind and have it exist, and putting something into existence from your brain that people actually enjoy and that you enjoy. It's the best feeling in the whole world.
Well, I also think you're really only competing with yourself, and if you're on a journey of personal self-improvement, with which if you're in therapy, you're definitely on that journey, and if you're an artist, you're on that journey, and if you're trying to improve yourself and you're trying to get better, then it doesn't matter what Joe Rogan does with his podcast over here. He makes more, or has more listeners or whatever. If you're getting better at what you're doing, that's the journey. That's it. That's the hero's journey. And that's a journey that's worth going on, I think, is a journey of self-improvement. And
I was broke for a long time, though. That journey, it's hard to be on a journey when you can't pay the bills.
Well, but there's nothing wrong with doing something to make money while you're simultaneously on this other journey of personal, growth and discovery through an art form of whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with having another job. I worked in all kinds of jobs. I did bookstores. I did, food. I did bookkeeping. I did I guess working on music that I didn't really like.
Yeah. Yeah, because you felt like that was probably the means
to
get to wherever.
At least I had a guitar in my hand from 9 to 5.
But what was, like at age 13, what did you want to do?
Be a drummer, session drummer. Yeah.
So, but again, that's crazy to hear you say session drummer. You knew enough about it because of
it
what
was
you
in
saw
Nashville,
around you.
yeah.
Yeah, you knew what a session drummer was.
Yeah, for sure. There was another kid in my class. He moved here from South Africa named Nick Buddha. And once he got here, I thought, okay, I got this. I'm the best drummer among the kids that I know. But then when Nick got here, he was so good that I was like, shit, man. Maybe I don't know if I can be a session drummer. This guy's already so good, And he went on to play, for Nathan Chapman, for all the first Taylor Swift stuff, Love Story, all that stuff. That's all Nick. That's my buddy. So he did go on to be a session drummer.
When you grow up here and the talent level is robust. It's
sure.
Everywhere. There's a lot of it.
Sure, absolutely.
As in your formidable years, let's say 12 to 19, did you feel like that challenged you to be better at times? Were you disheartened by how good people were? Or was it just a wave up and down of that, a mixture of that?
I think for me, I've never been a virtuoso of anything or a prodigy I wasn't the kid who was like, damn, that kid's over there shredding. Look at him go. He should be a guitarist. I was never like that. It was always, I have to think of an idea and use my limited musical skills to communicate something that moves people rather than be a virtuoso in any way, Does that make sense?
It does, only in the way of like I feel like I don't really have a skill that I can bank on. But I have a lot of things that I'm pretty good at that I've had to like Swiss Army knife and develop.
Yeah.
And that I'm pretty good at a lot of things that allows people to think I'm really good. And I've kind of tricked people into, here I am.
Yeah.
So I've never been supernaturally gifted, but I've worked very hard.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which feels a bit unfair because I have some friends that are so freaking good. But they haven't had to work as hard.
Right. Is that because they are lucky or talented, or what do you attribute that to?
I think mostly it's talent. I think what's unlucky sometimes is you're talented. I think you can be so talented. And again, if I'm making, because the music and sports to me run alongside each other. And I know I have friends that were extremely athletic, so they didn't have to work that hard. So it wasn't built into them. But when they got to the next level, that culture.
So you got a good work ethic.
I sadly had to develop a discipline like crazy.
I think that's better.
I do too now as an adult. Yeah. I wish I was really talented, but I wish that because that would have been easier for me.
Yeah. Well, I think I definitely coasted on a certain amount of talent for a while. And, I was really disorganized. And I had a friend who lived near me and he was having like #1 records, and he would look at me and he said one time, I started calling him Coach. Because he said to me, you got all the talent, but we got to work on your finishing. Because I would play him all these songs that I'd started. Like, I got this idea for a song. It'd be like a half song. He'd be like, finish it. Make a demo of it. Like, you got to close it, close the door. And then once I got into finishing, which is where the discipline comes in, and that's what you're talking about, that's when I started to have some success.
Were you a creative kid in general?
Oh, yeah, man. Drawing, painting, guitar, piano, everything. It was all art and all music. Absolutely.
Did that
Writing.
Was that a struggle then for some of the fundamental history, geography, like as a student, or were you pretty?
Yeah, a
studious?
little bit. I mean, a little bit, but I was into sports too. I mean, I was into track. I was into soccer. I was into all kinds of stuff. I really wish I could have played football, but I wasn't. I just didn't like getting knocked in the dirt really that much. I just didn't. But yeah.
Too bad they had pickleball back then, huh?
I know. I love pickleball.
And had pickleball back then.
Your brain changes though, and as a young person, I had quite a fidgety brain. I probably was ADD, but undiagnosed. I just had to figure it out. And what I'm noticing now as my brain is, I just turned 50 years old. My brain now, I can do math. Like I sit with my daughter with Tinkerbell in the morning and we do math. And I can't believe this. I did not have this on my bingo card, but I love doing math now. And we sit there and we solve these fractions. We solve these little equations that she's got in her book. She's 10 years old. And we have these euphoric moments where we're like, 1 3/4. That's the answer. And it's like we both kind of do like a little hop of joy when we figure these little puzzles out. But my brain couldn't do that very much, unless it was something like a story or a painting or a song or something that I was working on. I just didn't want to work that hard.
Why do you think now you have it?
I think your brain, as it ages, it changes. Mm-hmm. And you are able to do things that you couldn't do before.
I wish that were the case with me with piano lessons. I tried to do it as an adult.
You're able to concentrate.
It's a disaster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I practice.
What messed you up?
The playing of the piano, the music part, the fingers on the keys, the reading the music, the sitting down after I sucked for a long time and hating myself. There's a lot of that.
Just everything.
Yeah, basically the whole
annoying
shape of the piano, like all of it.
That's like me and the violin.
Yeah,
everything
well,
you're saying.
violin. That's even crazier.
I went and bought one because I saw Sierra Farrell at the Americana Awards.
She's crazy.
I saw her,
awesome. Yeah.
and I was like, I'm going. And the next day, I went and I bought a violin.
This is recent then.
Yeah. And I bought a violin. I went to the violin shop, and I came home, and I had my violin, and I was like playing it, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to go get a violin. I came home, I was playing it, and she was like, can you take that somewhere else? And I was like, okay, I'll go out to the studio. And I went out to the studio. And then my shoulder started to cramp, and I was like, it literally sounded so bad. And I'm usually good at music. I mean, I think of myself, I make sounds that people like. I mean, but this, I was not able to make anything sound good. And she made it look so easy watching her, and I was so frustrated. And then finally, I called after about 3 or 4 days, I called the violin shop up, and I said, hey, I got to ask you all a question. Does anybody ever, like, come in there and buy fiddles and then come and bring them back? And the guy was like, it does happen occasionally. And I said, well, why do they bring them back? And he said, because people underestimate how difficult it is to make it sound good. And I said, that's me. I'm bringing it back. I took it back.
You warned them at least.
Yeah.
Save some of the embarrassment of having hat in hand bringing the fiddle back. But piano to me, I feel like if I started as a kid and when my focus could have been on 3 or 4 things, I think I could have focused on the piano. I think with like 18 jobs and a life, and I think it was a little harder, but also I think music, I just can't. I shouldn't say can't, because I don't say can't for anything. Music, it was very difficult for me. It was like learning an entirely new language. Where, like, I can play guitar, but I don't play from reading music. I learned how to read tab on a poster from Walmart.
Right.
And I'll do and that's why I wanted to do piano, is because I'll write comedy songs and I'll go and we'll play these shows. And I thought, well, it'd be nice to be able to play some of these on piano. Yeah, no, I hired a piano teacher. I bought like 6 weeks of lessons. About 2 weeks in, I was like,
not for me.
I'll pay y'all 6 out, but I'm gonna not waste.
Well, there's some things that you just don't. You just know yourself, and you're like, I know myself. I'm not gonna commit myself to this, because commitments. That's your bread and butter right there. There's your discipline. If you're not going to commit to something, you're not going to do it.
Also, my right hand just sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so left-handed.
Yeah.
I think if you gave me 2 left hands on the piano,
you might be
Jerry
in
Lee
better
Lewis,
shape.
bro.
Really?
I
Interesting.
Yeah.
The right hand.
I learned like 2 tricks. I still do sometimes.
Are you left-handed?
I am, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So there was it was all bass.
I got you.
Boom, 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 boom. There's the right hand. That hand was not good.
Yeah.
But I learned a couple tricks, and so I go places and I'll do a couple tricks I learned, and then they'll like play some more, and I'm like, nah, I don't really feel like it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just do that trick, but then
Like a
think I
party
can play,
trick.
and I
It's like
don't.
a party trick.
Yeah, and I don't really play at all.
Fair enough.
You play? How's your piano?
I'm currently taking lessons.
No way.
Yeah, currently taking lessons. I take from a guy named Jody Nardone, who's really good.
How good are you?
Well, I mean, he doesn't. He told me last week. He said I was doing a good job. I mean, it's hard to.
Don't be humble. Don't be humble.
It's hard to know.
Can you play? Will you play in front of people?
Yeah, I'm not shy. I'll play in front of people. I'll play you a song.
Would you play a recital? If I said we're gonna have a recital, and you're gonna come and play the recital,
I'd do one song. I'm not going to do like
I just don't know how much you're
10
sandbagging
songs.
me here because I know.
But I'm not a pianist in the sense of like I'm fast and I do songwriter piano where I play chords and I accompaniment. That's what I do on the piano. You know, I can figure a part out in the studio and play, but I'm not going to sit down and play Chopin or something for you. So if that's what you want to do,
I actually only want Chopin, so I guess we're out.
I can't.
That's the kind of recital I demand. Chopin and only the hits.
Okay.
What? So, I mean, let's take away the drums. If you're gonna write, are you on guitar?
I write a lot on the piano. I gotta say.
Okay, so you're sandbagging me.
It's in the kitchen. I got one in the breakfast room, and it's right there. So I'll put the tea water on or the coffee machine going, and I'll get over on the piano, and that's all. I get a lot of ideas there.
You you get melodies in your head and you chase them, or do you get concepts in your head and you chase them first? Which happens most?
Well, first a concept for a song, and then once you got a concept, it'll be a group of words, right? Like, I don't know, Tuesday morning, and it has a rhythm to it.
In your head, like you've naturally assigned it a rhythm.
Well, just the words do. Tuesday
Got it.
morning. You know, it's very even. It's two groups of two, and then you think, no. You know, you start to mess around with that.
Keep talking to me because you're saying things I can't imagine or picture, and so I'm learning. So I would not think the words Tuesday morning.
Well, it's not going to sound good if you make a big jump on Tuesday, like Tuesday morning, because when you make a jump, it makes the day stand out more than it should. So then you look around. Okay, that's not going to work. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. I don't.
Finding different notes.
That's why I'm listening to you with my eyes so wide open. I'm
Well, if you go,
watching open heart surgery right now. Don't stop cutting, Doc.
well, if you go Tuesday, or if you go morning, it's like, no, that's not it. It's more straight than that. Tuesday morning. That's what the Velvet Underground did, but it's Monday morning or Sunday morning or whatever that great song is. And they're using it on a lot of NFL ads. Have you seen it? The Sunday morning song, Velvet Underground.
I think I just. Oh, you mean this Velvet Underground?
They're using that specific song. So yeah, I mean, you can do this. It's not rocket science.
I would just do it a different way. I would just pay somebody in the neck like I did it. You're my ghostwriter.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, good.
Okay, then
Kick it out the door. Get it done.
You have pianos where in the house?
I have two pianos, a number of keyboards, but I have one in the studio and one in the kitchen.
I'm just trying to feel inspiration here. And let's say you're inspired. You maybe in your sleep you think of something, or you keep a couple notes. You'll sit down and just start to kind of clink it out. Do you record while you're clinking?
I'll tell you what the most inspiring is. Yeah, I've got a bunch of voice memos. I mean, you know, and what the most inspiring thing for me is what I was watching a basketball game the other night, and then this ad for Gallatin Ford came on, and the lady said, "We've redone our dealership. We've now got the power of purpose." And I thought, okay, that's it. That's the phrase, the power of purpose. And what I mean is, the best way to write a song is when you need to write a song. So if you've got a comedy thing and you've got a spot and you need a song for it, you'll get it done. And it's the same thing with me. When there's a need for a song, that's the best way to get it.
Give me an example of a song that happened with.
Well, I mean, anything like, okay, just last, couple weeks recording some music with Kacey Musgraves. It's like, she needed something in a certain mood, in a certain kind of genre, in a
tempo,
certain kind of feel.
Yeah,
a certain thing. There's a need that arises. So I've got the power of purpose behind me. I'm going to sit down and work within these parameters to try to make something. And that's the way to get it done. That's why those Broadway writers were able to get so many things done, is they got the purpose.
when you write,
without necessity for a song, I'm lost. I'll just goof off all day if no one needs anything.
how hard is it? And maybe hard's not the word, but what's the difference in writing? We'll call them adult songs and kid songs.
No difference. They got to be good, and they got to be simple for everybody.
When you're writing kid songs, just a little disclosure here. I did a kids record that Cracker Barrel bought. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
We did pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it sold like 11 albums. It was awesome. I think that's like
That's so cool that you did that.
And so I started to struggle after I had written a couple. I wrote like a rap at first by accident, right? It was like about the planets. And I'm like, this would be cool. But then I started like second guessing how simple it should or shouldn't be based on the kid, based on the age. Did it with the kids book too. And I got in my head going, I don't know, 4-year-old, 9-year, like I didn't really know. I was lost in that space where I have friends that are writers and they know exactly who they're writing to. I just felt like in that kid world, there was such a distinct difference in a 4 and an 8-year-old.
Maybe, but I always felt like I was underestimated. Like, like I never wanted to have like a little kiddie plate with like little dividers for all the food and a little sippy cup or anything like that. I wanted to have the china and I was just a kid that didn't want to be demeaned in that way. I was I considered myself to be a thinking, feeling, sensitive person, and I didn't want to be treated like a baby. So when I make things for children, I make things for myself as a child, which I still feel like I am in my heart. And they're like Henry Mancini. They're sophisticated in a certain way. They are. I realize I price myself out of stuff, but I don't like stuff that's pandering or kind of demeaning to kids. Really.
Say more about that. You realize you price yourself out of stuff. What do you mean?
Well, I just mean sometimes I think the things I did. Well, we did get nominated for a Grammy for the first kids thing that I did, but I think some of the things you listen to that are there in that space that are supposed to be for kids, they're kind of stupid. And I'm not into that.
See, I kind of felt the challenge because I didn't know. And I think one of the great things about making that kids album was we didn't know what we were doing. I think there's a beauty to that.
Sure.
When you're naive to things,
yeah, that's the way to do it.
Right?
Yeah,
you don't know the rules.
That's
so you don't
the way
follow
to do
them,
it. Absolutely.
Right? I think once we kind of got involved and started, we'd written 6 or 7 songs and we started to have people be a little bit interested. Then we started doing the opposite.
Interesting. Yeah.
We're like then trying to guess and speculate and why, and let's get dumber. And that was the wrong thing for us to do.
Right.
We did exactly what you just said. And I think we learned a lot from it. But that's what we did. We were like, we need to make this dumber.
Well, when you talk about sports and music being parallels, one thing that stands out to me is the psychological hurdles that athletes have to get over in order to get out and perform. And it's the same thing that creative people have to. You have to kind of get through the second guessing thing. If you're a kicker, you got to just do what you do, and you can't get in your head.
Getting in your head, that's tough. I mean, especially when you live in your head, right? It's hard to say don't, and I do it too, like don't get in my head when I literally depend on whatever's in my head. But do you ever create something and you're in it so long or just so intensely that you start to go, I don't know if this is good anymore just because I'm so in it?
I don't like that. I personally don't. I like to move fast. I really do. I like to get the thought out and complete it as much as I can. And if it's not useful or good, I like to get on to something else. I don't like to. Do you? I mean, I don't like to work on stuff for a really long time. I don't like that at all.
I will write a joke or a set of jokes, and then I will go, and it's so funny to me when I'm writing it. And then I'm like, I don't know if this is funny anymore.
Oh, you hit it in a different. Well, one parallel that I can relate on that is sometimes the tempo of a song will hit you different ways. So like you work on something at 122 and then you come in and listen to it later and it feels so slow. So you got to bump it up or it feels too fast and you got to pull it down a little bit because it doesn't have the swagger or something, So tempos are funny that way, but I imagine jokes are kind of like tempo in the sense that depending on your mood, it can hit you in a different way.
Yeah, and depending on, literally the tempo of the words and how you're saying them. Yeah, for sure.
Give me a joke you wrote lately. Can you think of one?
That's the absolute word. The answer to that is no.
Because I am so fascinated because I can't.
I can pull up voice memos. So this is what I could. This is what you would do if I were to go pull up songs. Let me see what I have here. So,
like, I can't imagine trying to sit down and write a joke. That seems super, super hard.
It is
like I'd rather try to pole vault.
What sucks about writing jokes is that you can't practice them unless you do it in front of people.
You can't practice it with your wife or your friends or anybody like that.
No, especially not my wife. She's funnier than I am.
Oh,
but even then, if you tell a joke to one person, if I were to play, like, I'll play guitar in my act a little bit, but I can practice guitar all day and get better at it. I do not know if a joke works until I do it in front of people and they judge me live. Okay. And I know it's not going to work the perfect way the first time I do it. So you kind of have to go into it and go, well, I'm going to go ahead and deliver this, and I'm not going to get the response I want, but please don't let it be an terrible
total bomb.
I'll give you an example of something I just did. This is so, like, this is vulnerable here, Daniel.
I like it. Let's go.
And I have a lot of these. So I went and I hosted a thing called the Marconi Awards in New York, and Dan Patrick was there, the sports guy. Yeah. And I love Dan Patrick. Loved him on SportsCenter when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so what's really hard about writing for events is you only get to the jokes one time and you can't practice in front of anybody. Yeah. So all that practicing out the window because it is very specific to that occasion.
Yeah.
And I said, he was in the crowd and I recognized him. I was like, hey, Dan Patrick's here. I said, I'm a massive Dan Patrick fan. I said 3 things that I am amazed by with Dan. Number 1, he changed the landscape of sports and pop culture, melded them together. Mm-hmm. Number 2, he has turned what he's doing now into one of the most entertaining radio shows, the most trusted voices in sports radio. And 3, and what I'm amazed by the most and what I aspire to do, he charges $200 for a cameo. And so and so in that, you know, I read you one that I know for sure worked, because in that room it worked.
It worked, and you kind of gave the 3 and you numbered them.
Dude, the 3, that's the simple. That is
a good one.
And in music, there are a lot of formulas that you can work inside the formula for sure, 10 million ways. But dude, jokes, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
You know,
wow.
So that would be a joke that
That's
I
good.
did.
Okay. So again, you've got the power of purpose because you knew you're going to see this guy, and you had to have something.
But I bet you have in your notes a lot of half-written concepts that if you just read it to somebody, they would be like, what planet is your mind on?
Totally. Okay. And that is that where jokes come?
Absolutely.
For you?
I have so many, like, half-written jokes that I don't even understand. You know how sometimes you'll write something in your handwriting and you're like, what did I even write there? That's what some of my jokes are. I'll wake
What's
up.
What's a half one? Half-baked.
You're the fact that you want me to do this is crazy.
No, like I can't.
Because I do this to people all the time.
I cannot imagine.
What do you have? Pull your phone out. Well, I want to hear some concepts then. We'll go match for match a little bit here. I even have like I keep new book ideas.
I don't even know what I've got in here. But what if somebody listened to this and then they went and they took one of my concepts and they wrote a song with it? That would be the only thing that might.
Well, don't give us your best.
That might.
Don't give us your best. Give us like just like a generic.
I don't.
You have nothing?
Let me see.
This is my favorite thing. I'll give you some of my stuff here. So this is going to be bad. But my wife, and I wrote watching Batman Logic. So my wife doesn't watch superhero movies, really. Yeah. She doesn't hate them, but she never watches them. By the way, this is my favorite thing I've ever done in an interview where we do, because I feel so vulnerable right now.
I'll play you a voice memo. That might be more vulnerable, but go on about Batman.
So because this is not going to be that funny when I explain it to you, but you can see how the clay that I'm cutting from.
Right,
My wife and I are watching Batman. It's Robert Pattinson version of it. She's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? She's like, what even is he?
What do you,
And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, he can't fly.
Yeah.
He can't run fast.
Yeah.
He's rich. What's super about him? Except he's super. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, he has like the Batmobile. She's like, okay, well, you have a Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, why? And so her whole logic, she totally crushed Batman to me. Like, took all these years of childhood loving Batman.
Right.
And in about 30 seconds,
yeah,
showed me why I'm an idiot and Batman's a loser.
Or why it doesn't resonate for her. Yeah. Why it doesn't. Yeah.
Mostly, I just cried. So the whole thing was, she took all my childhood in about 30 seconds and told me why I was ridiculous. So like I wrote.
She yucked your yum.
Yes. Like watching Batman live. Another one is I asked my wife what it was like having a period. Like I literally asked her, I was like, tell me, like explain to me what it's like having a period.
Yeah.
And she said, look at the last thing that you Googled. And so I did. And it was something like autographed Saints helmet of Alvin Kamara. And then she goes, look at the last thing I Googled. And it said, does Uber Eats deliver Diet Coke? Or something like that, right? And I just remember that. So I wrote that little concept down. And from that.
The last thing you Googled is funny.
Yeah. And I can make that funnier of what she did. It could be like, do they deliver cookie dough ice cream? Whatever the case is. But that would be the concepts that I write down for jokes that I then go out and try to work until I can make them funny.
You mean you workshop them?
Yes, but you have to workshop live.
You have to workshop live, yeah. And you do them fast, though, so if one bombs, you're on to the next.
I'm the greatest at that, because sometimes my jokes are so bad, people don't know they're a joke.
They don't even know.
No, I just keep going.
Keep going.
People will be like, no, he didn't miss a joke all night. No, I didn't.
So stand-up is what sort of slice of the pie of your life is that?
In different seasons, it's up to like 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
Because I will tour and do 30 theaters.
Yeah.
And then I'll go do a sports show or a TV show.
Yeah.
So at times it is very significant where I feel like I'm writing all the time. I'm doing the radio show and I'm writing jokes all the time. Right now, I'm not in that space because I got a couple sports shows that we're doing.
Yeah.
But when I'm on, it is really all I focus on.
Yeah.
What about songwriting for you versus producing? Like what's your pie?
Kind of go hand in hand. I mean, I'm always writing songs. I mean, I'm just always doing.
You got to give me something vulnerable though, because
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'll just play you something I just started playing this morning. I went to the piano. I knew I was going to see somebody today, so. There's a daylight on the counter. I'm playing the piano. There's a daylight on
And so is that you? So placing a holder for words. It's the melody with the music. Would that be more for you to remember? Or to send to somebody to go, this is kind of what I have going.
But see, I don't really highly rate that. Like, I don't value that. That's just nothing, really. It's nothing until it's got the right words with it. And the words are the most important thing. And you know, it's like, it's just a bit of melody that I like. You know, so, but really, I got 100,000 of those. And really, they're not worth anything if you don't put any words with them. They're just.
But you've got placeholders there for words. I mean, that the melody that you're. But like, I'm just a guy lonely. But do you?
It's hooky to me.
Do you create that so you can reassign lyrics, or so you can together reassign? Like, what's the next step with something like that? It doesn't have to be that one specifically. What's the next step?
Well, find some words to put to it, and
do you do that, or do you do it with another writer?
Could be with another writer, or by myself, depending on what where we're at. You know, with someone like Kacey Musgraves, like she has so many great words and so many great titles that it's awesome to work with somebody that's that good.
Kacey's one of my
with words
top 5 favorite artists ever.
Yeah,
I think, and obviously you guys did Golden Hour, and we'll go through all that. But Kacey has a couple like perfect albums to me.
Sure.
Which there may be 4 that I can think of in my life that are like no skips.
Yeah, for sure.
Like License to Ill is one for sure. Like
love that.
Those that are from like back. But, Kacey as a writer, extremely prolific.
Yeah.
But I don't get to work with her on a level like you do. I get to work with no level. I mean, I just listen.
Yeah.
What makes her special as a writer?
Observation. I think she is very observant, and she listens to things people say, and she's able to catch those titles from out things that people are saying. And then she's got just instincts. It's just that simple. It's like a boxer. she's just got instincts about how to make a knockout and when to, and I just love her.
Slow burn.
Slow burn's great.
Jam. I was thinking of the songs that you wrote. I was going through them, ranking them in my head.
Thanks.
I know, but they're all yours though. So you win and you lose. And I think one that the first time I listened, I was like, okay, it's pretty good. The one that really grew on me, and I think just melodically, was "Lonely Weekend."
Lonely Weekend. Yeah, I'm proud of that one
because I listened to it, and I think it would. But the more I heard it, the more I appreciated how the melody of it, and I guess maybe I didn't feel the lyrics as much. But,
sure,
but yeah, melodically, I love that song now.
That melody, yeah, me too. I do too.
Tell me about that song specifically.
Well, I was up at my publisher, Big Yellow Dog, and I needed to have some little tracks for I don't know if people wanted to come through some of these artists, I don't know who it would have been, but I remember Brad Tersey, people like that were kind of around. I was writing with some of these people that were kind of bubbling up at that point, and I just needed to have some tracks, backing tracks, if somebody came in and they wanted to. So I made that backing track, and then I showed it to Kacey. I was thinking in my mind it was sort of like Eric Clapton-ish or something, and I showed it to her, and she was like, "Yeah, turn that electric guitar that sounds like Eric Clapton off. Turn that off, and let's speed it up. And I'm going to sing, something over it." And I said, "What if you sang Lonely Weekend over it?" And she was like, "Yeah." And then we kind of had a concept. So that was that.
With Kacey, Golden Hour, Star-Crossed, Deeper Well. What? That's a lot of working together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you work with somebody once and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe twice, but at 3 times there's something there that's like the magic in the stew with the two. What is it about you two guys working together?
Well, and I would put Ian in there with us too, because he's always sort of I think we've got to the point now where we can read each other without really a lot of words being exchanged. There's a little bit of a telepathic communication thing going on now. We've done so many songs together that we can know what the other person is thinking. And you know how when you have an idea and then someone else is there in the room listening, you kind of listen through their ears. If you played me a demo, something would become obvious to you that you couldn't hear if I wasn't there. Something about showing it to someone else. It's like, and so I think there's some of that going on where we kind of learn to listen through each other's ears a little bit, and we trust her, and she's got the instinct of where she wants to navigate herself to in terms of where she's going and what's pulling her, what's her North Star is. And so we just have to kind of follow that because it's a cultural North Star for her. It's like when we were working on Deeper Well, she's just listening to all this folky stuff. And she's like, what's the guy who did, Operator, Jim Croce, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, these type of things, are what are her North Star. And so we're just following that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and I was going to go to Deeper Well next because all 3, the projects have been different, but you don't want to repeat yourself. Mm-hmm. But it feels like you're not going to repeat yourself because she's coming in and going, as you said, to use your reference, the North Star. It feels like the North Star, even though you guys are the same battery, the North Star's in a slightly different place, so you're able to create differently because of that.
I think so, and I just think you never step in the same river twice. It's
I'd be in the same river over and over if it's successful.
Well, me too.
I wouldn't move. I'd be right in that same
absolutely,
hole.
absolutely. And I relate to that. Absolutely. I like cheeseburgers. I mean, there's a reason that it works, and I'm with you on that. But no, I mean, lives change, moods change. I remember when we were working on Golden Hour, she had just met this guy that she wound up marrying not long after that. But she was so enamored and kind of all those type of falling in love kind of songs were just kind of pouring out, and she was just feeling that way, just very not ground down into the nitty gritty of a relationship and the hardness of those moments like you're talking about when your wife kind of kind of burst your bubble about Batman and stuff like. There was none of that. It was all, it was all just rainbows and butterflies and all those kind of things.
The longer I sit with you, the more I think how intimidating it must be for your piano teacher to give you piano lessons.
Oh no, he's a beast. No, Jody is a beast, and what I do, and you might enjoy this too, is that I want to figure a song out. So I'll bring a song in. So it's song based. It's not based on, okay, now do these scales or whatever. It's song based. And the songs contain the musical lessons. So you would say, okay, Rocket Man by Elton John, I want to play that. And you bring it to him. And then just put your hand here and you put this one there and go like this. And you're playing Rocket Man.
Is there an understanding, though, that you want to learn a bit of why Rocket Man exists at the same time? Like, obviously, you want to play the song,
you want to look.
like,
you're getting under the hood. You're looking at what makes it work. What's the engine? What's the mechanism? Why does the melody work? What's the bass doing? And you learn those things. And that's what, as a songwriter, that's why I like piano lessons.
Did your dad teach you guitar?
He showed me a couple chords. Like he showed me. There were a couple chords I couldn't figure out. Like that song "Michelle" by the Beatles. It has a couple jazz chords in it. And he said, well, I would play it like this. He showed me like an augmented chord and a diminished chord and stuff like that. Like,
did you feel
trickier
comfort
chords.
in asking him for help if you needed it?
Yeah, sure.
So it's not no.
No.
But
Yeah.
if there was something you would say.
Yeah, and then, he showed me, I remember one time he said to me when I was playing lead guitar, I was just kind of soloing, and I kept going and soloing, and he said, you got to put breaks in it. He said, make each phrase like a little snapshot, like there's a Polaroid, like dun dun dun, and then stop, and then dun 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 dun. You don't run it all together, and because then all the images get on top of each other, and you want to just put space in between the licks, and that was pretty helpful.
Is your dad still alive now?
Yes, he is. He's got Alzheimer's, so his memory is not in good shape, but he's a sweet guy.
Before he got sick, was he proud of your success? Did he expect your success? Like, what was that relationship?
I think that he was a dreamer. I think he had a lot of unrealized dreams, even with all the things that he did and all the places that he was as a musician from the 60s up through the 90s. I mean, even everything that in those 3 or 4 decades that he was working, even as all the things that he did, I think he wished he'd been able to do more. He never had like a big hit or anything really that he was associated and performed in a lot of amazing places. And with Emmy, he was Emmylou Harris's harmony singer for a long time. So they sang together, and it was pretty thrilling to hear them sing together. It's like pretty amazing thing to do, but he never really got in there and like said, all right, let's write some stuff. All right, let's produce a record here. Let's make that. He never sort of like took kind of like, I don't know. It just wasn't like as much of a thing, I think, at that time. I don't know. Or maybe he just didn't have the kind of, he's not a dominant kind of person or really a leader really that much, so much as like, he's kind of a quiet, more introverted person. So, a lot of times the people who end up sort of, capitalizing on certain situations they find themselves in tend to be those more outgoing kind of people, right?
How was your mom in that respect? Was she a little more outgoing?
Well, she was, and also she was sort of home with me and my brother when my dad was on the road. So she was pretty much a mom.
But did she run things? I mean, where do you get? I guess I'm just wondering how you got yours.
Yeah, my mom's the boss. Yeah, she was sort of the she set the tone, I think, in the house. My dad was more of a moody kind of atmospheric presence.
Interesting to me. I don't know if you want to answer it, but how do you come up with your kids' names?
Oh, well, we wanted them, this is funny, we wanted them all to be from Peter Pan because, that was just the trip that we were on at that point. But we got Tiger Lily, and then we had Tinkerbell, and then we were going to name Matilda Wendy because then they would all be from Peter Pan. But right the week before the twins were born, a woman at our church had a baby and had it christened Wendy. So we couldn't be like, the next week. And this week we have another Wendy,
yeah.
which is dumb, which we should have gone anyway. But yeah.
Your 10-year-old Tinkerbell.
Yeah, Tinkerbell.
You say that. Is Tinkerbell her name?
Yeah, that's her name.
Her legal name
That's her
is
legal
Tinkerbell.
name. Tinkerbell, yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it is or it isn't.
To me, that is so cool.
That's cool. Well, she's very much herself, you know. I mean, she really, people grow into their names, I think, and she really has. You're around her and you're like, yep, you're Tinkerbell. Yeah.
My name, I always thought was like a young guy name.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah.
I told my wife that once. I was like, I got a pretty young name. She was like, what? I was like, Bob, because like Bob, like that's like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, Bobby? That's what old men were named. You just have
Right,
the
in
young
the 50s.
version of an old
Yeah,
man. And I'm like,
yeah.
no. We looked it up. Most popular in 1938. I was like, what? I had
Incredible.
no idea that my name was an old man name.
Do you get a lot of jokes from your wife?
My wife is, this is what
The source of a lot of humor?
Yes, and very much yes. But mostly because I'm so challenged by her. She is so much better at what I do, yet she has no interest in doing it.
None. Totally.
She does not want to be
fully
public.
understand that.
She does not want to tell jokes.
Yeah.
She is so funny that I at times get resentful that she has such a gift and doesn't use it.
Yeah.
And I'm over here, I'm begging for scraps. Just begging, just trying hard.
Just grinding.
And if I can get her to laugh, a real life, because she will not pity laugh.
Yeah, for sure.
If I get a real life laugh, it's the greatest.
Good feeling.
It's better than a full theater.
Yeah.
Because she's so much better than me at what I'm celebrated for. So it's crazy to, I think my answer is yes, but I think it's because I'm so challenged by her at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that I want to
Does
get
she ever resent being spoken of in a comedy context? She does.
She resents it.
You ever get off stage and she's like, "Oh boy,
oh yeah,
you're
you're
getting ready to you got some work to do."
Especially way early on, not as much anymore because I know why she has her boundaries that she has.
Yeah,
she just does not enjoy people knowing things about her. She does not want to be in public.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at first. I'm like, guess what happened to me?
Yeah,
I'm walking naked in the bed. So all this, and it was never like mean or angry, but early in a relationship, there are boundaries that are set. I mean, I said some, she said some.
Yeah.
We end up loving each other. We get married, but even on the radio, there are certain personal things she does like about her. I can talk about me whatever I want, but there are certain things she's like, I would rather like own my story at times. So yes to that.
This sounds very familiar to me and I resonate with that very much. And one thing that I feel like when I know I'm about to be in the doghouse or not in a bad situation with her, there's 4 words that, and I'm getting into numbers here, which I'm now learning as part of crafting a joke, but the 4 words are, just so you know. When I hear that, I know I'm in trouble.
It's not. Yeah, the rest, you can go ahead and hold your body the way it needs to be held. It doesn't matter what's said next. Yes. Yeah, my wife has been extremely beneficial for me creatively because I have only ever just wanted to be good for me. Now it's like I want to impress her.
You want to make her laugh. Absolutely.
I have no interest in impressing
anybody.
And she's the hardest person to make laugh, but she's also the absolute funniest person I know.
That's a good North Star.
Dude, it's
I support
hard.
that.
Absolutely it is. But it's really hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get, like I said, I get resentful that
she doesn't like anything. My wife doesn't like any songs. She doesn't like any songs. She's like,
she's heard them all.
She doesn't like anything.
She goes, I hear your sense of humor all the time.
Yeah.
You make these jokes all the time. I know where you're going before you go. You expect me to laugh at this stuff?
Yeah.
She goes, other people may give you laughs. They don't hear you 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, I mean, it's hard. That's a good choice for a North Star. And I know certain things I can do in a song that will make it more possible that she will like it, but still a lot of times I just pretty much fall flat. She's like, it's not Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, is it?
But what is,
like,
That's the thing. What is? How'd you meet your wife, if you don't mind sharing that?
We met at a party at my house where I was living on Belmont, and she came and I was sort of being ubiquitously obsequious. I was just kind of like, would you like some more wine? Because I wanted to know more about her. And so I kind of blew it at the beginning, but we stayed in touch. And then, then we just kind of found ourselves kind of hanging out. She was up in the Hamptons and I went up there. And And then I just had this feeling like that I just felt really good when I would be around her. And then when I would leave and not see her, I was kind of, I don't know, just didn't feel good. There was something about us. And I remember early on, we both had our laptops and we were both like sitting at a table kind of working, and she was in grad school at the time. And I was kind of like writing emails to, I don't know, my weed dealer or something. I don't know what was happening, but I loved the feeling of being across the table from her, typing on our laptops, and just being in her orbit was just something I wanted to. And then she cooked me this incredible, we started dating, and then she cooked me this unbelievable gourmet meal one night. And I got really inspired, and I was like, I'm going to propose tonight. I got up from the table, so I'll be right back. And I went into her, I needed a ring, and I needed it right then, and I hadn't thought it out. So I went and grabbed one of her rings, and I came back into the room, and I got down on one knee, and I said, will you marry me? And she said, wow. And and she did say yes, and that was the last meal that she cooked for me.
She got you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my wife being a little offended that I was surprised she could cook so well.
Yeah.
But I meant it as a compliment. My wife's a great cook.
Yeah.
And my wife also has multiple advanced degrees, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember she cooked, and she's consistently really good. She can make stuff out of nothing, it seems like. And I was like, I can't believe you can cook so well. And she's like, why? I was like, because you're pretty.
Oh, wow.
And but maybe not. I thought this was a compliment.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best thing to say, though. They're
Right.
like, well, if you're only pretty, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And so.
Beauty is a form of intelligence.
Yes, it's always intelligence.
Yeah.
And I was just shocked. But she does everything so well. And I think when you mentioned that you just like being around her, I think for me and my wife, I didn't get married till I was 40. I was 40.
Yeah, I was a pretty late bloomer.
Like I just didn't believe this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was never engaged her in a serious relationship or anything. But then when I met her, it wasn't that like I was run over by the love truck. It just felt easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say that life is easy, because being in a relationship, if you want it to be right, is hard.
Yeah.
But it just felt easy. Or that I wanted to put in the effort to make it feel easy. I never wanted that before.
Yeah. I resonate with that for sure. And also with the other thing you were saying about the difficulty of impressing. If you marry someone that it's hard to impress, it makes you better.
Yes. And I think that's a good place. And in this last before the kids book, the last adult book I wrote a whole thing about, and I do believe it, but it's really hard to live. Like, find somebody that you trust and you love to tell you that you suck.
Mm.
And I mean that, and it's funny to say you suck, but find somebody that you trust enough and you can still love after they tell you suck. Mm-hmm. That way you can trust when they tell you that something's good. Mm-hmm. And with her, like, I have that in the greatest way, and she doesn't do it out of meanness at all. And she does, it's completely healthy, and she's very honest and upfront. But if something is not good or it's not to the standard that she thinks it is, and I bring it to her, because she won't just come be like, I heard this, it sucks. Because she knows sometimes I'm not done with it. Mm-hmm. But if I bring it to her and I'm like, what do you think? She will give me her absolute, nothing held back opinion of whatever I've created. Mm-hmm. But when she says, man, that's really good, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's the gold
star.
That's the W.
Yeah,
that's the win.
It.
And I would not believe her if she didn't give me the rest.
Yeah.
And all that value is her being able to tell me I suck sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that's
Let me ask
so
you this.
valuable.
Is she ever wrong? You ever be like,
I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
She often will admit to being wrong whenever she's really not that wrong.
Right.
Like, she has the ability to have.
She ever say like, that's not very good, and then it's like,
oh, you mean about my creative stuff?
Yeah, and then
sometimes
it's like the joke kills or something, or
yes, but this is her argument there. Because she'll be like, it's not that funny. I'm like, I've done a joke 5 times, it kills. Mm-hmm. She goes, well, they just don't know humor. So she's still right. But sometimes she'll nail me for low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
She'll go like, yeah, of course they're laughing.
Yeah.
She goes, you're just ripping the low-hanging fruit off the tree. You can do so much better. And I'm like, I don't need to.
Yeah.
So she's never wrong in that way.
Right.
She still holds on to how she feels about it.
Yeah.
But I love whenever I feel like she's wrong. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
5 times when I've done this joke, like they love it.
Love it. Yeah.
And she's like, well, they're stupid.
Yeah.
So, and not that mean, but no, I really enjoy talking with you. This has been super cool for me. I appreciate you coming over.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
What I like about you is that like you're just like you,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not something that isn't heavy commodities here. There's a lot of people that present themselves as a creative product, but it's tough to find somebody you feel like no, that's literally just them, and it's a little quirky, and it's a little. And I really like that about you and what you do because I believe it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I don't have a career. I mean, you said that earlier. It's like a career is for somebody like a doctor or a lawyer or a politician or somebody that's got like a ladder to climb.
Stability.
That's got a ladder to climb.
Yeah.
That's looking for somebody over here. It's like, oh, if I make this move. Because if you do music as a career, you got to make a lot of bad choices.
You're right.
You do. You have to. You have to go, well, this is what's selling, so I've got to go over here and do this because I'm working on my career. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I don't have a career, really. I just have my work, which goes on 24 hours a day.
It's about that. And I feel like to do great work, you have to make even more wrong choices to actually figure out who you are and what is important to you. Because I think I've done things very, very wrong. But I don't think, had I not, I wouldn't know what I feel like is right. Because I wouldn't know what was wrong. It's like Mark Twain wrote That Damned Human Race, and it's one of my favorite like essays because it's not a full book or anything, but he talks about if we didn't have morals, there would be without wrong there is no right, without right there is no wrong, and so if we didn't assign things to have this great moral value, there wouldn't be immoral things,
right?
And in a way, it's like had I not done everything wrong, I wouldn't know what is right, and I'm glad I did, but it sucked, and I wouldn't do it again. But I'm very thankful for it. And so,
I tried to have a career.
Oh, me too. I tried to have a deep voice. I tried to be the guy. Hey, everybody, welcome. This is the show.
Oh, wow.
On early radio.
Yeah. Dang.
I was gonna be the greatest deep voice, DJ ever.
So you would
now, if somebody called me a DJ, I get pissed off.
You would get on there and go, "Hey, everybody."
I was not even that good. Yeah, it sounded like a puberty. That on puberty.
Because a deep voice is what you wanted at that point.
It was the standard for a good announcer.
Okay.
And that's what at one point you had to be considered successful in an industry with talking into a microphone.
Do you think you probably do this, and I don't know, but do you think you could do sports commentary? Like NFL games or?
I don't do that. I mean, I did when I was younger. I did Division II football, and I did. So, do I think I could? Yes. Do I think I could be the greatest of all time at it? Yes. Am I probably wrong? Yes. But do I?
Did you see they had what's the guy? Patriots.
Tom Brady.
They see I had Tom Brady. They were trotting him out there as a commentator.
He's making he's on a $100 million deal.
Was he? Did you feel like he was legit?
This is what I love about Tom Brady. He sucked his first time. It was the worst.
Yeah.
They didn't have the right processing on his voice. He was way nervous.
Yeah.
Did not know where to talk.
Right.
Between week 1 and week 2.
He just got dramatically better.
And he wasn't great in week 2.
Yeah.
But he was so much better.
Yeah.
That inspired me watching a 6 out of 10 Tom Brady week 2.
Yeah. Wow.
Because now he's probably a 7.5 or a 7 point. And we're 9 weeks into the season, but you're watching a guy go, oh, this is why he's great.
Yeah.
Like he continues to just want to get better.
Yeah, he's on a journey of self-improvement.
Because he was terrible week 1. And everybody told him. It was everywhere. But it was so cool to watch him come back week 2.
And crush it.
And it was. And that's stuff that's inspiring to me.
Wow.
So, and I'm going to steal your song. We're going to record that and you're going to hear me. I'm ready to go. I stole that. Daniel, thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before you got here, we talked a lot about you and, talked about Silver Seas and, I didn't know where I really wanted to go with this, but the more I sat with you, I just kind of wanted to have you TED Talk me.
Well.
And that's what I got.
You've been TED Talked.
I didn't even do the Burt Bacharach stuff. And I think about, and so I love Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And I like,
too.
and like when Ben Folds cover, and I like a lot of that piano based, we'll call it piano based pop. that is all derived from like
Bert stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And we started with Ringo. Almost
Yeah.
started with Bert. I'm glad we started with Ringo.
Yeah, Ringo.
Yeah, it was good. And thank you for the time. Massive fan.
Yeah.
Congrats on everything.
Thanks, man.
And I just really
Same to you.
admire how you do stuff. And your kids' names. That's the coolest thing. That is literally the coolest thing. Mike, you have anything?
How did the Waffle House song come together?
That's really a great one.
I was in Seaside and was down there on vacation with the family, and I always bring music stuff with me when I go on vacation because I got to have something to fiddle with. It's like my knitting. And I made this little beat and put some chords to it, and I sent it to my buddy Ito in L.A., and he said, hey, I think I want to send this to Jonas Brothers. And so that's how that came together. But it was music. My contribution to that song was the music. I didn't write any of the lyrics.
When you heard Waffle House, though, you're like, that's so amazingly quirky. It's awesome.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah, I felt that. I love that.
T-Bone Burnett.
T-Bone.
Is he? What's his
dear friend, mentor? He was my producer when I was an artist. When I was 19, we lost touch with each other, and then through Ringo and a couple other things that we're working on, we kind of came back together. And I love that man.
Is he math based? Like when he
Math.
produces, like does he like his
math based?
Meaning, I would hear stories of people working with him, and everything was so specific. Especially percussion.
I think he's just a brilliant artist himself, and you can hear on his new record how good he really is, what a good singer he is. He's in his 70s. He sings his voice is so pure, and the songs are so good. I think he's just really a great artist. So really, I think he just is helping artists try to be better.
I probably said a friend's a bad drummer then. That's what I hear when you say that, because it was like, no, man, we had to be exactly, and it sounds like what you're saying is rhythm.
Yeah. Oh,
you must have.
Very distinct ideas about the way that stuff should interact. But just a lovely guy, very bright, very like yourself. You would find him, quoting Mark Twain. You'd find him, he'll say, "Can I read you a poem?" If he really likes to. I said, "Are you gonna ever have a biography or an autobiography or something like that?" He said, "Decidedly no." So there's a mystery about him, and he speaks a lot in metaphors, and there's a lot of He'd be more likely to tell you like an allegory or a fable in something, and then you'd sort of extrapolate from that, like what it means about your problem or your situation.
All right, last question.
But I look up to him a lot.
Did you get Ringo to sign anything, or is that off limits?
I didn't, but I made him take a picture with me. Yeah, but I didn't get him to sign him.
He knew he was in the picture, right?
Yeah, that's right. He did.
Okay,
know.
good. Because
yeah.
thank you for the time. Really appreciate it.
All right, man.